Don Remedy. Don.
DDEC presents Vincent of the Table, the makings of the man, at the table, part 2.
Yo, thank you, Don. Introducing the makers of a man at the table. Participants, the Dinner Table Entertainment Company, the Dinner Table First Table Business Group. This is part 2, baby. Let's go, Don.
Yo, good afternoon, Don Bavell here. Just want to talk to you about a little bit about my philosophy, where I want to go, where I've been. You know where I've been. I've been talking about that in my music, but where I want to go. I'm a little bit about. I want to narrate to you a little bit about my perception, what I see. Even I talk about music, but I want to explain to you a little bit more about my personality, what I envision, what I see, what my mission is, my dreams and goals. The end goal is agricultural freedom, cultivated land and back home in Africa. I'm a Barbadian by trade, Barbadian, but I got roots in Africa by the island of Barbados and transatlantic slave trade, whatnot. So could be Ghana, could be Nigeria. But yeah, let's talk about major infrastructure. Micro infrastructure is kind of what we see. Our main vision when we walk outside and see. It depends what you know, really, what you studied. But major infrastructure like cities. Micro infrastructure could be like managing a restaurant or a restaurant chain. So that's kind of insight that I have, micro and macro. So with macro infrastructure and agricultural freedom, it's like I want to be able to live for free. I want to be able to enjoy whenever I want to enjoy, all the time. Whenever I want, I just want freedom. Life is free. True life is free. The afterlife is free. But life right now is work, and I've been working for a long time, so I have a long struggle in front of me to get to the paradise land, the promised land. Major infrastructure is the route to the promised land. It's an incentive to get a wage, it's an incentive to get financial attributes, it's an incentive to have nice things. We're put in a position where it was taken away from us. Some of us didn't want it in the first place. We wanted to work for it after knowledge. Some of us deny ourselves of the good things. We don't think we deserve it, or we want to appreciate it later. Some of us have discipline like that. We want to work for what we get earnestly, and we seek rewards from the work that we do. That's a little bit about my values. I'm a Virgo. We have all the virtues. Some of us have all the virtues in a way. Alternatively, there's the 7 deadly sins we're also capable of, but most of us are positive. So let's talk about social narrative. What's my vision? Why do I do what I do? My father's a Liberal Democrat. He used to go to meetings in Turnpike Lane. That's Wood Green for everyone. North London. I'm from East London, North East London. Just not down the road from Tottenham. Waltham Forest boy. I was born out of London. So I used to go to Liberal Democrat parties in Turnpike Lane. And when it was young, my father's father left when my dad was 3 or 4 years old. So my dad's always been fighting to be something that was far off, and that's a father, a man of reverence. He just wanted to be himself, to be honest, a champion. So he put himself exhaustingly in every way to be that man he wants you to be, and it kind of rubbed off with me and my brother. Me and my brothers, we contrast each other, but we're very similar. He's a little bit taller than I am, a little bit more slimmer, but he called me his big brother, even though I'm the youngest brother. My mother's a big, strong woman. She was an athlete when she was younger, and she's very academic. Strong-willed, mighty woman, man. My sister's kind of the same. My sister's a female version of myself. Very beautiful, pretty, and not even pretty, beautiful, man. Gorgeous looking. I come from a strong family on both sides. I have strong friends. The women's generation and heritage was kind of a tight-knit network of tradesmen that worked interpersonally with each other's families. So it was very tight. I grew up in a very good network of families. So only say I'm 40 this year, September the 14th. So my home has only been broken for the past. Obviously, my dad left home when I was in 2005 or 4, I think it was. 20 years. My home has only been broken for 20 years. But my mum and dad was there. There was arguments. It was good and bad. It was a rough environment. We were all Walthamstow. Went to school in Boundary. In Walthamstow. A very rugged life I had when I was young. That kind of grew up. Rugged. Jeans, hoodies, night shoes, wherever was one. I couldn't afford all. My mum and dad couldn't afford all the trainers that I wanted. That some of my friends were wearing to school. But I'm talking about big gold chapsies around the neck, necklaces around, chains around the neck and around the rings. Lots of Jamaicans and cultural inclinations. I grew up in a Muslim environment, Islamic environment. Walthamstow. Around some estates all around me, state housing estates all around me, so council houses all around me. But we lived in the upstairs of a flat, upstairs of a house. It was split on two levels into a flat on each floor. So that was a two level house, and we lived on the top floor. So my mum worked 2 or 3 jobs. I'd focus on education to kind of better your scenario, be the best servant to God you could be. Be the best servant to the Lord you could be. I was raised as a churchgoer. Jehovah's Witnesses Kingdom Home. My dad didn't really go to church, but he was more of a champion. My dad believed. Well, my dad was a religious person, but at the same time, it was. At the same time, it wasn't. At the same time, it was what he could do. He wasn't relying on someone else because his upbringing, his father wasn't there, so he had to learn everything himself. So he networked. He worked his way up. It's just like that's what possibly attracted them together. They both worked their way up together individually without knowing each other. Then the stars aligned and they got together. Blah 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 blah. Sparks happened. I was born. So the best thing in their life happened. Sure, they didn't always feel that way. My behaviour coming in late after 10 or 11 p.m. I was in a corner or in the blocks later on in my street life. So that's a little bit about my background. So I'm like I said, I'm nearly 40 now. I have regrets. I have ambitions, and I also have happiness, memories, like good stuff happened to me, man. I've enjoyed some good things in life, but I want more of the good things. But I know it must balance out, so you must expect that too. So what I want to do is teach the children. But most of my, like I said, I went to a public school. Right? Multicultural school, multicultural background. But my environment was around lots of council homes, estates, on both sides of my primary school was at the end of my road, and my secondary school was at the other end of my road. And that was like a 10, 15 year period that I had attended both. So we had different environment, adaptation. Yeah, man. So learning from my mistakes and anticipating, and being ambitious to kind of help those who, from what I learned in life growing up, from my perspective, who didn't have as much as I did, which was the happening. Even though we wasn't well off, we were working class. Some blue collar attempted to be a white collar bourgeoisie, as they say. Malcolm X would say. We were bourgeoisie. We enjoyed the precious, the fancy things whenever they came. Yeah. And I'm aware that not everyone knew those kind of aspects of life. My dad always said, don't waste food. Mum always said, don't waste food, because some people in Africa were starving. And we always watched the news at 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. My dad watched the news in the morning before he went off to work with 16 miles a day to Bond Street, where he worked for a computer technology company. Computer network engineering company, pardon me. He was a manager there. He worked up to be a manager for a private company, while my mum worked for the government, local councils. Yeah, that's a bit about me, man. But I've grown. Like my mum was educational based. She was the stereotypical, I'm gonna work for a living and I'm gonna earn a raise to survive by that. My dad kind of I don't know much about my dad's aspect apart from the political aspect and what his desires were about raising the children around him that were kind of like having issues with their fathers. So he was more moral. I'm not saying my mum was immoral. They were both moral, but my mum was, like I said, they're similar. My mum's more conservative because the money was tight, so she was more conservative of the finances. My dad was more liberal. Then that created me, was witnessing both. We grew up in the imperial system, not the metric system, which most of the council houses are based upon. So the mathematics, the understanding of accounting and bookkeeping was very different for me and my friends. Where we had to pay the electric, gas and water once a month. Maybe, save up from the wages once a month. What I would spend once a month. My friends were paying on the meter, so I had more. Naturally grow up in that scenario, you would have better understanding of mathematics. You have more help from the government. We was on child benefits and all that. We were receiving tax credits in my household, but like I said, education was important. I grew up in a very balanced environment, at home and out there on the street and in work and in school. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful. I've had a mixed life. So that's a bit about my personality. That's the background of the Don Bavell. I'll fill in lots of detail in my music. I've got the dreamer's reality, lifestyle of a dreamer who wants better than being, isolated because he is a little bit more well-adjusted and well-taught, than some of the colleagues and friends and associates I had. Some of the strangers that were in my school, an environment that didn't like me because I was in the middle of it. Like I said, I grew up in mostly around the States, but we didn't live in an estate. We lived in the outskirts of a state. The bottom of the alley, the other side of the alley was the estates. And the only reason I socialized with those people there because I went to school with them. You see, but I was always balanced. I was I wasn't an outcast. I was a misfit. But I was always destined for more. That's what I come to realize. I was destined for more. Destined to lead and teach. I'm a teacher. My sister's a teacher by trade. To be honest, not to kind of empower bravado and irrationality, but I was street culture got me, man. But it wasn't merciless. As far as I could see, not where I was from. It was kind of love. It was loving. You do what was necessary, but there was rules to that shit. There's only so far you'd put it, unless you was putting it, unless it was put onto you in a way which was ultra disrespectful that earned the retaliation of drawing blood like they do these days. And we're in April 2024. So you know what's going on in the UK news. With 20,000 deaths, it's 2,000, something like that. I don't know what the number is, but it's crazy. It's increasing every year. It increases by 100 to a couple hundred. We used our fists back in the day. Some knives, if you got stabbed and you was that deemed you was the guy. If you got stabbed, because that means you was doing some real stuff. And the only reason you was getting stabbed is because you was getting robbed for stuff that you was into and had in your possession. That means you was business orientated, management orientated, financially orientated. So you earned it. You wasn't innocent. You wasn't innocent. You had a reason for what you was doing, but you wasn't squeaky clean, you know. So I grew up in that environment around those people. I wasn't financially educated. I was told to put money into savings accounts. But I was always destined to be like my father and my mother, not just like my mother. My mother was the one that told me to put stuff in my savings accounts. My dad had American Expresses. Was on child benefits, whatnot. So my mum used to work 3 jobs until she got into the government, into a decent level for the local councils. But only now I'm getting financially adept without officially studying finance or accounting or bookkeeping. I kind of do it every week for the past 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I've been doing it. So I just want to give these kids a clean chance, a good chance, an advantage of surviving until we can make it through the infrastructure, the major infrastructure, that's the cities, and into that agricultural free land. So that's the narrative. Whatever comes with that, crime, criminology, health and well-being, business, happiness, sadness, struggles, fighting, not as that, martial arts, discipline, ill discipline, whatever comes with life, I want to kind of escort them with my information of experiences of those I grew up around, with my special traits and my friends' special traits, our abilities to communicate, by speech, grammar, or writing, or empathy, or kinesthetically, whatever our traits would be that we communicate with, even if it's silence and just thinking, meditation, and talk about what you meditate on. Whatever views we have, I want to share that, because we come from a special age, a special generation after the generation of the Windrush, and our parents are children of the Windrush generation. So the Windrush generation left with a purpose, left the Caribbean with a purpose, and I believe that was on the route back to Africa. Like somewhere along the line, my generation was meant to kind of be the ones that push, that's the one that crossed the bridge over into Africa, in a way that actually make the step to kind of transmutate and build a bridge over the sea into Africa, domestically and internationally, building pathways back at home for our grandparents and parents. So that's my role. I know that for a fact. Hypothetically, I know that. I believe that. That's one of my securities. I know that's what we meant to do. So I talk about that in my music, and I want to influence others to kind of seek home, and seek home. You know, the regular revival of music, Bob Marley's and Dennis Brown, and all the other reggae artists that talk about going back to the promised land. That's what my generation was supposed to initially make steps into that arena for our children to actually go there. And some of us, basically my children, my generation's children. So if I was a granddad, my children's children will be born in the motherland again, but in an infrastructural environment where they'd grow up while the cities are being created, the new cities, the technological states, the high society cities, you know, digitized technology built around nature, you know, greenery, trees, fruit vines, but with technology and economically sound, agriculturally pleasing an environment that is safe, materials are being used and developed to make a home. So my grandchildren will be born while that's going on. So maybe 10, 15 years, 20 years into my grandchildren's life, the cities will be complete, abundantly in Africa. You know, I'm not narrow-minded, but I say it's just Africa that I want to develop, because the Middle East, you know, you can't, just by thinking this way and being in the the urban areas, suburbs of awful forest heat of London and England and Great Britain, UK, you can't go and develop another nation from where you are at developing a nation. You're in to get out of that nation and into your providers, wherever you're going to provide. You need to kind of develop where you are now. It starts from your home, it starts from your body, it starts from your home, it starts from your vehicle, it starts from your destination, your temporary destination, your local destination. You can't go abroad, you can't go far away and develop that into where it's unrealistic. So I'm a realist also. So that's 23 minutes about me talking about my aspects and goals and orientations, perspectives, and ambition. I hope you don't find me boring. If you do, I'm objects of study, man. I'll increase myself. Get massive. Nah. Get lean. You know, be strong. Get your hair in check. Get your locks done. My locks are being done in a few weeks. Get your hair done. Get trim and shape. Be stylish. Be modest also. Be emotionally intelligent.